At General Mills, our company purpose is that we serve the world by making food people love. On the screen, you can see many popular brands, maybe some that you have in your household. We sell products across many different categories, from breakfast cereals to baking and meals to snacks, desserts and ice cream. We now actually sell pet food. So many of these brands are sold across Canada, which we're focused on in this presentation, but you'll see other brands are from other countries around the world. So in 2005, so almost 15 years ago, we embarked on a journey to make health improvements to our products. We call it internally Health Metric, and we use this as external reporting on the health improvements we're making across our portfolio. We started with our US portfolio, which was the largest, and have now expanded it globally. So it certainly covers all of North America and beyond. We look at it in two different ways. So we can either increase positives, and you see them on the left-hand side of your screen, like whole grain, fiber, vitamins and minerals, and protein. And then we also can qualify for our health metric here internally by reducing nutrients of public health concern. And so these would be sodium, certainly what we're focused on in today's meeting, also sugar, and then trans fats. And you can see here in the sodium area, from our reporting, and this is from 2005 and to the present, we've been able to reduce sodium in 480 products. The reductions have ranged from anywhere between 5 to 25%. And they go across all of our major categories, from savory snacks, frozen pizzas, our canned vegetables, soups, and cereals, and beyond. So here just gives you a highlight, and these results are from the US, but I would say that Canada would be very similar. So in 2018, which is the last time that we tracked calendar year 2018, 81% of our US retail sales volume has been touched and impacted by our health metric. You can see with the diagram here, 16% of that improvement came from increasing positives. 38% of that came from decreasing what we call nutrients of concern, such as the sodium and the sugar. But 48% actually had both increases of positives and decreases of areas of concern. Why we're so proud of this is because we feel like through product improvements, through new product innovation as well that we track, we really feel like we're bringing nutrient-dense products to the marketplace. So now I'm going to give a little highlight of our sodium reduction efforts in Canada, and I think Mary did such a nice job of laying out how the work began with the working group. I was not actually at General Mills at that time, but know that we were actively involved. We still have people internally that were involved in that working group. We still have very active and ongoing conversations with William and others at Health Canada that are spearheading this initiative. Through our trade association, the Food and Consumer Products of Canada, we do a lot of work in that area. And we have been actively tracking all of these efforts since the initiation. So as Mary presented, there was a lot of success, and there continues to be success in the sodium reduction efforts in Canada. And this is really a General Mills view of where we were able to have success. So both in the phase 1 and the phase 2 targets, we saw great success in our Pillsbury crescent rolls and cookie dough, our shelf-stable pastas, and this is our hamburger helpers, shelf-stable pasta, our stand and stuffed taco kit, also our taco sauce. So these were all able to meet phase 1 or phase 2 targets. One huge area of success, and that Mary highlighted as well, was ready-to-eat cereal. We saw a reduction between 11 to 17% across our cereals. And I'll kind of highlight why that was such a success and how that was a success across the food industry. And then products that were actually able to meet the phase 3 targets. You see them across many different categories of products. So everything from pancake mixes to Mexican seasonings to tortilla chips and toaster strudel, some of our savory snacks. And then also we added in, some of the new products that we bring to market. So if you live within the US, you may be familiar with the Lara Bar organic bar at the bottom of the screen. This product was introduced in Canada a few years ago and actually does meet the phase 3 target. So as you can see, based on some consumer demand for product and certain likings and areas of products, they are being brought to the market at a lower sodium intake level. And then I think the purpose of your convening and some of the questions that I heard at the end of Mary's presentation was, where are the challenges? Where, and why are some of the categories not being met? And so this slide really showcases where we still have work to be done and where we've run across challenges in sodium reduction. You can once again see it's across many different categories that we have internally at General Mills. So for instance, our pie crust, we weren't able to meet the phase 3 target. Pie crust is a very simple formula that the sodium actually plays an important role in the formula for taste. It is also, a consumer liking of the product. This is also a product that's very infrequently consumed. So, would this be an area of prime concern for sodium reduction efforts? That's to be determined. But with this simple formula, it is challenging to bring the sodium levels further down. Another example is our Betty Crocker cake mixes and cookie mixes. The sodium actually plays a functional role in leavening. It also plays a role in taste. It also plays a role in flavor enhancement. So this has been a challenging area for us in the cake and cookie mixes. And then another category that is very diverse, is always changing, and we know this from a consumer perspective, along with the data that we're seeing, is the granola bar category. And so we worked hard at the time that the categories were set in Canada to have a separate category for the sweet and salty bars. As you can see, Nature Valley has a very popular sweet and salty granola bar, where salt is even actually in the name. And so what consumers expect out of this product is a certain level of taste coming from the sodium. So there actually was a separate category of granola bars set for sweet and salty bars, but this category is always evolving. I would say even internally, we see the consumer always changing, and I can see where the sales weighted average would be adjusting quite frequently as well. And so many of these challenges are also met with consumer acceptability. And so, overall, I would say that it really, really takes a gradual, stepwise approach to bring the consumer along in any of these reductions. As you can see, many of these are family favorite brands where a certain taste is expected from a consumer. And so to make even gradual reductions, it does take significant amounts of time. And so I put this slide in here, not so that you can read every word, but you will have access to these slides afterwards. But this diagram was actually produced by General Mills and confirmed by other industry partners and then published through our trade association. This is once again, the Food and Consumer Products of Canada. And it showcases how long it takes to bring a product into commercialization. And so overall, I think just if you take away, it takes roughly 28 months to bring a product, even if it is a product that we are renovating, and say we're renovating it for a sodium reduction, to bring this to the marketplace and establish it in the marketplace takes over 2 years. And so one important fact I think you should take away is that this timeline has not gotten quicker over time. It has actually become very standard over time. And there are absolutely exceptions where things could be quicker to market or things could actually take more time. But in general, it takes about 28 months to bring a product into market. So next, I just want to share an interesting case study that we have in Canada, along with the sodium reduction journey. So through the efforts that we made through our Hamburger Helper product, we actually wanted to showcase the sodium reduction efforts on our package. We feel very proud that 7 of our products were able to receive a 25% reduction. 5 of our products were reduced by 15%, and then another 5 achieved less than a 15% reduction. And you can see it varies because the product actually varies, and there is variability between our beef broth-based product and our tomato-based product, and then our cheese-based product. And that just goes to show that each product has to be addressed separately when going through sodium reduction. But we found out that the consumer did care about sodium reduction, and they wanted to see products with less sodium. So we decided with our marketing teams to really highlight on package the sodium reduction efforts that went across Hamburger Helper. We wanted to share this good news with consumers, share the sodium reduction story. And so this was added to the back of the package. It really talks about the total sodium reduction of 25% less sodium per serving across the product in general. We took the same data from Health Canada using the sales weighted average. We were very mindful in the way that we worded this and the way that the story was shared. The unfortunate part was that CFIA, which is equivalent to the FDA, actually made us remove this from package after a few short weeks. So it just, this data has been shared, this case study has been shared with Health Canada, and just illustrates ways that we need to work better together to educate this consumer, to share success stories in meaningful and impactful ways, and in ways that the regulatory environment allows as well. So, and then just moving.
Why did they have to take it off?
So I think I heard just why that they had us take that off was because of the way that it was written. It was not an approved health claim in Canada, and they were not aligned with the wording in how we phrased the health claim. So just moving.
Megan, what happened to sales of Hamburger Helper?
Yeah. In Canada, the nutrient content claims have prescribed wording in the Food and Drug Regulations, which don't mention anything about sales weighted, and also they're set up to be 25% reduction. So if it was a sales weighted, it may not be an individual product because it has to be it with its matched product. So there could be there could be a variety of reasons, but those are often the impediments that come up with the nutrient content claims, because it's a wording and approved alternate wordings, but they're written as prescribed wording in the regulation.
Right.
Is the way nutrient content claims are done. And I don't think there's nothing anywhere about sales weighted either, and I don't even think it's a concept that consumers would understand.
You got it.
What happened to the sales of?
Yeah, and I think one thing that any food company would do prior to launching a renovated, like a product that existed in the marketplace and then was renovated, would be very mindful to take into consideration the consumer in all of this. And so I don't believe that sales were impacted by the gradual reductions of the Hamburger Helper. So it still exists in the marketplace, which is always good news. And I think we were just looking for a creative way to both educate, to just share a success story, also illustrate that we are listening to consumers, that they perhaps said at the time that they were looking for a lower sodium option of one of their favorite products. So and then moving on into the sodium reductions across our U.S. portfolio. So I just put this in because we are extremely proud of our efforts, not only in Canada, but also in the U.S. and across the globe. So in 2010, we made a pledge to reduce sodium by 20% in our key product categories within 5 years. We included 10 of our largest categories. This was all based on sales weighted data. These were categories, you're kind of seeing the categories that we are in within General Mills. So it's savory snacks, frozen pizzas, canned vegetables. At the time, we owned Green Giant, which we no longer do, but also Mexican dishes, side dishes, refrigerated doughs. And we were very happy to report that by 2015, we met or exceeded the goal in 7 out of the 10 categories. You can see there on the right-hand side of your screen that we're able to reduce by 35% in savory snacks, Mexican dishes. Even though we didn't meet our goal of 20%, we came very close at 19. Cereal was also 19. So we feel very proud of these reductions, and just wanted to share that as well, knowing that the U.S. is our largest category of products within and around the globe. So just in summary, I wanted to share some of our learnings with the sodium reductions across Canada. Number one would be the collaboration and alignment on targets is extremely important and a key to success. So being a part of those working groups and really being heard as a food manufacturer. Also supporting and acknowledging the progress made. And so we know that not all the goals of Health Canada were met, but as Mary mentioned, the intake has slightly come down. There have been success stories out of it, certainly some categories, including some that General Mills is a large contributor and have shown great success. One of those areas is the breakfast cereal, the ready-to-eat cereals. And so one of the unique things that happened was that the 4 companies that have a 90% share of ready-to-eat cereals came together, and it was all a part of our trade association. They really came together to determine how we were going to move forward and that we were going to move forward together. And I think this is unique because usually in the marketplace we serve as competitors, but coming together around reducing sodium was a really nice way to come together, and in the end you can be very successful in doing that. I do know that this was not unique to cereal. It also happened within the Baking Association around sliced bread, and I think there's some other areas where leading companies that had a very large share of the category also came together to figure out how they were going to move forward with sodium reductions. I think we also know that there are certainly research and development challenges, that no 2 products can be looked at as the same. For instance, our hamburger helper meal kit, we found huge differences in sodium reduction just based on the type of product it was, whether it was tomato-based, as I mentioned, broth, or cheese-based. Also, in very simple formulas, such as baked goods or cereal, flavor is impacted by very small reductions, and I think in those cases, really time is needed to bring the consumer along and not make large reductions all at once, but do them in multiple phases over time. And then also taking into consideration that we do have global formulas at a large food company. Certainly our formulas are aligned across North America, so the same formula perhaps from a base level would be the same within the US and Canada. There could be small differences in some of the regulations, such as fortification, but in the base of the formula, it would be identical. And once again, addressing some of the barriers, so making sure that enough time is allotted, certainly so that the consumer can adjust as well. And then also knowing that additional consumer education is key in all of this. So continuing to work together and finding ways to educate the consumer, finding ways that the food industry can bring the consumer along, can showcase the efforts being done that are also compliant within the regulatory environment. And then just to mention the future approach here at General Mills from a nutrition standpoint. So first and foremost, the consumer is in the front and center of everything we do. And so as a dietitian, I would love for a consumer to always pick a product based on its nutrition credentials and health credentials. But even myself and knowing what we know based on consumer insights, that is not always the top driver of purchase decisions. So many decisions go into what a consumer decides to purchase. And I think we're all aware that taste is the number one driver. Hands down, that tends to not change. And then usually followed by price, value, convenience, and then also the functionality and how the product is expected to perform and how it does perform when they bring it home. And then also that, when we say health and nutrition, what that could mean to a health professional or a dietitian is very different in the eyes of various consumers. So nutrition or health decisions could be made based on a product not having added any additives or colors. It could mean that it has an organic symbol on it, that it was responsibly and locally sourced, that it is sustainable, it has transparency, or that also it is known for safety. So really the focus at General Mills, we will continue our effort in sodium reduction. We continue to track our health metric, as I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, but we also are trying to shift away from this single focus on single nutrients and really talk about whole foods, nutrient-dense foods. We know that a food not only provides, perhaps a positive nutrient, but it also could have a nutrient that needs to be limited. So within our food categories, certainly our yogurt portfolio that's very large across North America, our cereal business, and also our snacking business, we really want to strive to get across the nutrient-dense message. We know that no consumer eats a single nutrient at a time, most likely, and that we really want to emphasize healthy eating patterns. We feel like this is aligned with dietary guidance across the US and then also Canada and the new food guide, encouraging Canadians to eat a variety of healthy foods every day. And then one other thing, the last point I'll make here that I think, many that would not have as much visibility to a food company, and one unique aspect of having a very strong nutrition department within a company is we're able to aid the research and development, the product developer teams in setting product guidelines. And I think what is so important here is, as nutrition professionals, we're able to set guidelines of, when developing a new product or renovating an existing product, what level of sodium, what level of sugar, what level of whole grain should you not exceed, or in the regards of whole grain, should you exceed, and what level should you meet? And so we have these established across many of our categories and many of our global brands. And so what I think is so important here is, not just talking about reducing the sodium from our food supply, but not adding the sodium to our food supply. And, Mary mentioned this in the presentation as an area of concern. And so I think knowing that internally at food companies, they have these guidelines. We are looking towards any regulatory efforts, voluntary approaches that are set, targets that are set in developing these guidelines internally as well. So I think this just adds to our effort and provides some guardrails to those internally not always looking at a product based on its nutritional credentials in the product development stage. So I really thank you. I think this was a wonderful way of showcasing what a country has done in sodium reduction. I keep saying sugar, in sodium reduction efforts based on the Health Canada initiative within the healthy eating strategy, and then how one company within the food industry has brought it to life. So I thank you for your time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and